The wolf did not need us. That is where every story about domestication begins to fall apart. We imagine a Paleolithic hunter kneeling beside a fire, offering a scrap of meat to a curious wolf. We imagine gratitude. We imagine choice. We imagine the moment a wild thing looked into our eyes and decided, somehow, to trust. But the archaeological record tells a stranger story. The bones do not describe a conquest. They describe a slow, mutual surrender that neither species could have understood while it was happening. 30,000 years ago, the ancestor of every dog on Earth was still a wolf. Not a proto-dog, not a friendly wolf, a predator. 600 pounds of coordinated muscle in a pack, capable of bringing down animals 10 times its size. Nothing about that creature suggested a future beside a human hearth. And yet, something in its nervous system began to change. Not because we bred it, not because we captured it, but because a specific kind of wolf, one that most of its own kind would have dismissed as broken, began to survive better than its bolder siblings. It was the coward that started everything. Around the edges of the earliest human settlements, wherever our species butchered a mammoth or discarded the marrow-rich bones of a horse, there were scavengers. Most wolves would not approach. Their flight response was too strong. The sight of an upright primate, unpredictable and armed, triggered the same cascade of stress hormones that had kept their lineage alive for millions of years. Adrenaline, cortisol, a hair-trigger nervous system tuned by evolution to interpret every unknown as a threat. These wolves ate elsewhere and lived shorter, hungrier lives. But a few wolves, statistical outliers, carried a subtle genetic quirk. Their adrenal glands produced less cortisol under novel conditions. Their fear response was, by wolf standards, defective. They could linger closer to humans without their bodies flooding with the chemistry of panic. And in the marginal calories of our waste, they found an advantage. They ate better, they bred more, they passed their calmer biology to their pups. Generation by generation, the wolves who tolerated us thrived, and the wolves who could not disappeared from the fringes of our camps. This is the part no one told us as children. Humans did not tame the wolf. The wolf tamed itself by selecting for the individuals within its own species who could stand our presence. And what began as tolerance slowly cascaded into transformation, because a nervous system that no longer floods with fear does not stay the same for long. Reduced fear does not travel alone. In every mammal studied so far, from foxes to rats to horses, when you breed animals for lower stress reactivity, other traits appear without being selected for. Ears become floppier, tails curl, coats develop patches of white, skulls shorten, adolescence extends. The animal grows up looking softer and staying younger, longer. Geneticists call this the domestication syndrome, and for decades no one could explain why choosing for calm produced changes in appearance. The current theory points to neural crest cells, a population of cells in the embryo that give rise to both the adrenal glands and to pigment, cartilage, and jaw structure. Turn down the adrenal system, and everything downstream of those same cells changes with it. Fear and form are stitched together at the level of the embryo. So the wolves that lingered near our fires did not just become bolder. Their faces began to shift. Their ears began to soften. Their bodies began to look, subtly, like the puppies they had once been. And to a human eye, without our knowing why, they began to look like something we could love. This is where the story turns strange. Because at some point, tens of thousands of years into this quiet arrangement, the changes crossed a threshold. The wolf that lingered was no longer quite a wolf. Something in its brain had opened a door that no other predator on Earth had walked through. It could read our faces, not the way a wolf reads another wolf, through posture and scent, but the way a child reads a parent. It could follow the direction of our pointing finger, a gesture no other animal, not even our closest evolutionary cousins, can reliably interpret. It could hold our gaze, and when it held our gaze, something remarkable happened in both bodies at once. Oxytocin, the same hormone that binds a mother to her infant, released in synchronized pulses in the bloodstream of both the human and the animal, triggered simply by mutual eye contact. This is not metaphor. It has been measured. When a dog looks into your eyes, and you look back, both of you experience a hormonal cascade evolved for one purpose: the bonding of parent and child, misfired into a bond between species that share no common ancestor for 100 million years. The wolf, through no intention of its own, had hijacked a neurochemical circuit designed for something else entirely. We did the same. Our brains, which had spent millions of years evolving to read the emotional states of other primates, began to read the emotional states of this new creature. Its lowered head, its tucked tail, its slow, deliberate blink. We could tell when it was frightened, when it was content, when it was hoping for something, and it could tell the same about us. Two species, separated by an evolutionary chasm, had somehow constructed a shared emotional language out of the raw materials of ancient hormones and older instincts. Nothing else on Earth has done this. Cats came later, and by a different route. Horses were forced, cattle were captured. But the wolf arrived first. And the wolf arrived voluntarily, and the terms of the pact were written not in language, but in biology. The bones of the earliest dogs found buried with humans, gently laid to rest, wrapped in ochre, cradled beside the bodies of children, are not the bones of tamed animals. They are the bones of family. And here is the part that unsettles the modern mind. The wolf that made this choice, or whose ancestors made it for them, gave up something enormous. Wild wolves live in complex, cooperative societies with strict hierarchies, extended kinship bonds, and remarkable problem-solving intelligence. Dogs, by nearly every cognitive test we can devise, are worse at abstract problem-solving than their wild ancestors. They give up sooner. They look to humans for answers. Their brains are, on average, smaller than a wolf's of equivalent size. In choosing us, they surrendered a form of independence that no wolf would recognize as anything but tragedy. But they gained something else. They gained us. They gained a species whose social bonds could stretch to include them. They gained access to a nervous system, ours, that had spent its evolutionary history developing the deepest capacity for love and grief on the planet, and they were welcomed into the orbit of that capacity. They became mourned. When a dog dies, humans weep in a way that no wolf has ever wept for another wolf. This may be the strangest gift of the pact. Not that we fed them, not that we sheltered them, but that we grieved them. And they, in their own way, grieve us. There are documented cases of dogs who lie beside the graves of their owners for weeks. Dogs who refuse food after a companion animal dies. Dogs whose cortisol levels spike and remain elevated for months after separation, in patterns that neuroscientists now recognize as consistent with something functionally indistinguishable from mourning. Whether they understand death the way we do is unknowable, but their bodies register absence. Their bodies protest. There is a philosophical weight to all of this that is easy to overlook. Every wolf who chose the fire was a wolf that violated the deepest logic of its own biology. Every fear response suppressed, every predator instinct dulled, was a small betrayal of what a wolf had been for 2 million years. And yet, evolution does not care about betrayal. It cares only about what continues. The bold, independent wolves who kept their distance from humans are, today, endangered across nearly every continent. The cowards who came close are the most successful mammal on Earth after ourselves. There are more than 1 billion dogs alive today. There are fewer than 300,000 wolves. The coward won. And in winning, it changed us too. Our own cortisol drops when we pet a dog. Our own oxytocin rises. Our cardiovascular systems are healthier, our immune systems more resilient, our life expectancy measurably longer, because of a decision made by our ancestors to let a predator sleep beside us. We did not domesticate the wolf. The wolf and the human domesticated each other, in a long, silent negotiation neither species could describe, using the only vocabulary evolution ever grants any of us, the vocabulary of survival, of nervous systems, of hormones released in the dark. When your dog looks at you tonight, understand what is happening. You are being read by a nervous system that was once engineered to hunt you, and it is not hunting you. It is loving you, in the only language its biology has left it, a language it did not choose, but a language whose grammar was written by the bravest cowards who ever lived. The wolf who chose the human is still choosing, in every quiet gaze, every settled sigh at your feet. A pact renewed daily, older than any city, older than any word for loyalty, older than the idea that love could exist between two kinds of animal at all.